Hi everyone, welcome to Black Spring with Autumn on this January 5th, 2020. Having to get used to saying 2020. But once again, I'm happy to have everybody here. If you are here, I thank you for dropping in. And the title of this particular stream is The Second Amendment is Going Hot and Fast. Because I think that's happening. I think other state governments are kind of getting the same ideas. So it's basically going to it's creating a bit of I don't want to say a panic, but it's creating a concern for patriots and their right to bear arms. So I would like to get into that just a bit today, if you will bear with me. I'd like to open it up with just a brief something that may help, just give you a little bit of landscaping, as I call it. So I'd like to open it up with this, and this comes from our former president, Ronald Reagan. And it was said at the beginning of President Trump's campaign, that this was private citizen Donald Trump, that Trump's campaign would in some ways channel the presidency or even the legacy of Ronald Reagan. And I just wanted to start out with this particular message because I tend to agree with that. So if you just hang tight here just a second.
Be so busy arresting handgun owners that they would be unable to protect the people against criminals. It's a nasty truth, but those who seek to inflict harm pointed out that police are not faced so by gun busy arresting handgun owners that they would be unable from personal experience to protect the people against criminals. It's a nasty truth, but those who seek to inflict harm are not fazed by gun control laws. I happen to know this from personal experience. I've always felt a special bond with the members of your group. You live by Lincoln's words. Important principles may and must be inflexible. Your philosophy put its trust in people, so you insist on individuals be held responsible for their actions. The NRA believes that America's laws were made to be obeyed and that our constitutional liberties are just as important today as 200 years ago. And by the way, the Constitution does not say that government shall decree the right to keep and bear arms. The Constitution says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Okay, there. So you can see you had a bit of some channeling there. Just give me just 1 second here. I apologize for the technicals here. Okay. So there you had a little bit of the former President Ronald Reagan. Basically, he's standing up for the Second Amendment. But I just wanted, my message today is in part that there's a bit of history that goes with the gun grabbing, the globalist gun grabbing culture. It's actually not a new culture, if you will. It started quite long ago. In fact, it's very interesting to learn that maybe that there's been a plan for globalism and for, quote, what some may refer to as New World Order, that's been in play for a very long time. I'm not going to say that I can pinpoint the exact inception of a New World Order, or I mean, some people may even, I'm not even going into too many conspiracies, but the Freemasons and the Illuminati kind of ilk is where this might this may, cut close to those bones, but I have to say that there has to be some history or some statistic to it that supports something that supports that. So with that said, I would like to move on to I'd like to show you a little bit of the inception and the history of civil disarmament, and where it started from. So we'll just go there. You'll go there with me. Okay, so just briefly, it's here we have hopefully you can see it on your screen. It's in 1961, President JFK signed Public Law 87-297, an act which aimed at reducing, controlling, and even eliminating arms under the international agreement to establish effective system of international control. Now, that was a process that began in 1961 with JFK. And then you can move on even further, in which we had an author, William F. Jasper, who reported from the New American. This is the JBS Society. They've been basically fighting for smaller government and American liberties and civil liberties for over 50 years. William F. Jasper reported on a similar scheme being cooked up by the UN, and it was backed then by President Bill Clinton. Now, that was 1999. I at least put that on this. That's your second block that you have. And, it was the article basically exposed the origins of the plan to disarm and to deprive Americans of their keep and bear arms, which was basically, Jasper basically talked about the treasonous administration's support for the program. It was basically revoking rights. And then you can even go on even further. I mean, that particular article written by Jasper was the Freedom from War. Was from the Freedom from War. And this program was unveiled at the UN at September 25th, 1961. The initial inception of it was unveiled at the UN September 25th, 1961 by President JFK. So I guess it comes back. It came back up during Clinton's presidency. And so then we can move on just a little bit to 2012, where Barack Obama, 51 years later from the initial 61 unveiling with the UN, that the UN Arms Trade Treaty backed by the Obama administration grants the UN the power to both control and eliminate the possession of guns in the United States. So you had Obama basically, he wanted to see this particular legislation all the way to the end. It was his intent to sign the treaty one way or another and enforce it. Well, luckily, that did not happen. And we have had since then, I think everyone has probably seen by now, that in 2019, President Trump announces the withdrawal from the UN Arms Treaty. I think he actually did an actual news or a press conference, or there's documentation on that. That was a historic event in itself, that he actually was going to be destroying and not signing the document. But there again, I think there's still other legislation out there that gives the UN, that's given the UN some level of mobility. I think on my stream yesterday, we talked about how the UN has an opening for disarmament personnel. It's pretty extensive. It's like a total package. It's almost like it's not only just disarmament, but it's intelligence and everything. They're looking for Americans in New York to be a part of that. They're recruiting out of New York. In fact, New York is the only state in the U.S. that has a UN office. So I thought you might find that fairly interesting. And then also I have a few, let's see. Now, for one, I'll just tell you just some specifics about the Arms Trade Treaty. Now, the Article 2 of the treaty defines the scope of the treaty's prohibitions. The right to own, buy, sell, trade, or transfer means of armed resistance, including handguns, is denied to civilians by this section of the Arms Trade Treaty. And also, I do have a little bit of images for you here. We have here in 1961, that is JFK, with the globalist commemorating the history or the inception of grabbing the guns. So it's very interesting to find out how many administrations have been in support of the Second Amendment and how many have not, which is actually, it's not that interesting because I think we're all kind of finding out that the mask is off for the Democrats right now. And I just don't know how anyone can see them as Americans or with American interest at heart. I just don't see that. I'm struggling with that myself. I don't know how they can be taken seriously beyond the actions that they've done, especially with what the current president. I don't see. I don't see how anyone could take them seriously. I mean, I don't want to offer a negative Nelly here, but historically we've learned lessons. History, we learn lessons. And well, I'm not going to say we learn lessons. We are exposed to experiences. And history says that we can go back to, this is pre World War. For World War II, in 1929, the Soviet Union established gun control from 1929 to 1953, and about 20 million dissidents, unable to defend themselves, were rounded up and exterminated. So here you go. I'm saying if America doesn't wake up, I am not a gaslighter, but I'm saying, are we all going to we'll see each other at the gulag, at the American gulag? Is that where we're headed? I mean, which one of these nations and allies from the UN is going to step in to save Americans from the people in the government that are tyrannizing? You know, which one? Which one? I'm open. I mean, I see. Hi, silly as I want to be. Nice to see you here again. I'm saying it's just who's going to step in and save us from the people in our government? Because, you know, even growing up, people talk about, oh, the government. They talk about the government like it's some kind of mythical power, or it's like a set of gods that just kind of, you know, they just kind of radiate or over us, and they just kind of shower down these evils. No, these are people. These are people that we are electing. And one of my greatest concerns is the level of voter fraud. I mean, are we dealing with voter fraud? Because it looks like I'm seeing that even Kentucky, that many of the more Democrats that take over, they are all grabbing for the guns. They are grabbing the guns. The sanctuary. How do we go from a constitution? How do we go from that to grassroots? We're having to protect our rights under grassroots movements. We're becoming deputized by sheriffs, and I'm just not understanding how anybody could think that party, that the Democrats are actually, they can't be custodians of the Constitution. And that's all they've done is mock the Constitution, mock and knock the Constitution in these impeachment hearings. Oh, well, nothing that they do is constitutional. These kinds of foreign entanglements, these entanglements that we have with this foreign aid, I mean, we even have a something with China where it's easy. You can either ship things from China to the U.S. free of charge. I think President Trump has gotten us out of that. A lot of people don't realize that. What is President Trump doing? He's doing a lot. Okay, the UN, for example, he's doing a lot, and I would like to see. Many people would like to see American sovereignty restoration. You need to contact your senator, your Congress, and we need to get out of the UN. But I understand it's not going to be a stroke of magic, a stroke of genius, quick genius that's going to get us out of it. Because look at our employees or these servants or these congressmen. They are all entangled, Democrats and Republicans, Dinos, Rhinos. We have the spectrum of foreign entanglements and globalism just seems to have it has been alive and well for decades. And we are just now waking up to it. What we can do, I think we have to empower each other and we have to arm ourselves with truth and we have to stand by. We can't let people trample the laws. I mean, they're just coming out doing these things. They're just saying, we're going to do this. We're going to collect this. We're going to confiscate this. That's no less, that's trampling citizens and states' rights. This is the same, it's another revolution. But we have defeated the wrong enemy. Unfortunately, I quote that from General Patton all the time. I know I do that. But I really believe that, we were hot. We had some hot-handed globalism going on back then, and I think he saw it, right? Even in during those World War conflicts, he saw it, and now we're seeing it because we are at a turning point. And you can see when I titled this 2A is going hot and fast because it is. Look how radically the mask and quickly the mask have come off from the left since President Trump took office. Well, they're at the point of no return now because there's really no way for them to turn back the hands of time or turn back their actions. I just don't see. We might be a forgiving nation or we might be a fickle nation when it comes to memory, but my memory's pretty good. And I'm not going to forget these things at the ballot box. But then you've got all these other little cultural distractions, these other little Marxists and propaganda ministries with Colin Kaepernick, Rose McGowan. What's that director? The director out of New York. I can't think of the guy's name. If anybody wants to pop it in, go ahead. He's Michael Moore. Michael Moore. I cringe to say that's the name. It may be Michael Moore. You got all the propaganda ministries, doing their thing and distracting and carrying on. And what else can you do? We have to stick together. I think there was a thin line back during World War II. I think that we did have, of course, we had, I think Patton, I've seen the documentaries of Patton, and I've seen the movie Patton, but I do believe that Patton I think, as his megalomania, I think, is the part that put us over the edge. It was the salvation because I think when it came to armistice and tanks and aviation, maybe the Germans, maybe they had a leg up on us, but I think he was the strength and the tenacity, and he had this invincible spirit. And I think a lot of nations have lost that. It just seems like a lot of people have just lost it. I mean, are we going to just lie down and just let all of this stuff happen? I mean, we've got the most contradicting party in the Democrats that I think I would have never imagined that I would see. Because, they've always purported themselves in some ways to minorities, and I'm speaking from the quote the black fact, or the de facto black in the US, if I might say. We've always been, oh, well, they're going to people just vote for Democrats. They've never been in alignment with what I believed in. And the more I questioned it, the more I didn't get resistance. I got nothing. So when I get nothing, I have to take my own personal responsibility and find answers. And we just don't have we don't have enough Americans that are interested and care enough about what they don't know. They would rather be willfully blind or support things that they think somehow is going to make them feel included. Everybody wants to be included, and just I don't know. I read a quote the other day that said that people are inconvenienced. People are so fake that they're inconvenienced by reality. And I think that is very much true. It is very much true. And so I'm just thinking, everybody needs to understand that the UN, that organization has a communist history. In San Francisco in 1945, that it's a communist history. Very communist history. So I'm like, it's just amazing that why were we ever even a part of that? Are we safer what, like right now? I saw a newscast, I forgot who it was, but there was a mention that, oh, we're gonna, de-escalate and da 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 da. But what other nations? Isn't that the point of the United Nations? Shouldn't they be using all these resources and all these millions of dollars? President Trump is having to rally for the money and having to cut it. He's cut it 50%. He's cut 50% for what we're giving the UN. They're flat busted broke. He's cut it. He's sliced it. And do you see them coming out because they are all conflict of interest here. They are all in bed with this whole globalism thing. I think that's the exact reason why they're not stepping up. They're not stepping up. So here we've got to send our troops in, and we've got our soldiers all over the world. But yet we still have to send more people. We still have to risk more lives, because what exactly are they doing? It just seems like it's not only an obsolete group that we are part of the UN and NATO. We're just floating everything and pretending and schmoozing that there's a such thing as world peace. There isn't. It has not been established by any of these organizations. We're subsidizing so many countries and so much defense that it's a socialism. It's total socialism. And I don't know if I think President Trump he's going to keep American interest in assets first. He's already said that. So if anybody thinks he's coming up with an apology, or if he's going to be bowing down to any of these people in the future, that is not what's going to happen. It's not what's going to happen. And they can try to, they can put their rose glasses on and blame it on ism, and they just make up ism odd infinitum. I don't even want to hear. I get to the point where I don't want to hear any of these silly little arguments that are just based on feelings. We've sacrificed our people, and now there's conflict here. We have conflict on the ground, and it is with the people in our government that this conflict is going on. So I'm saying, it just seems like we've had a whole lot of treasonous people in the government for a long time. And I'm just, it's kind of amazing. It's really, I don't know how, the more staggering than that is that we've had the people that came before me, whether they were black, white, whatever they were, whatever the backgrounds of the people that came before me, Why didn't they see? Could they not see that there's contradictions, that there's two different narratives going on here between the parties? Could they not see? You know, I've heard people say, "Oh, this and that." I've heard, "Oh, FDR saved us from the Great Depression," which he actually just made America more dependent with the social securities and the all the programs and just all the enlargement of government that came out of that. You know, double digit unemployment. The formula for the Democrats always puts America in a debt, more of a debt yielding position. I mean, we're less sovereign under them, and that's always been the case. You know, we have centralized banking. That's a part of Marxism. You know, we're indebted to oligarchs and just I don't I mean and Trump may be the antidote. He's got President Trump is, to me, one of the most, he's got to be one of the most clever presidents. He's got to be one of the most clever presidents. I mean, I'm sure he has his aides and staff, but I think some of it comes with from him. You know, I even heard like Robert Johnson, the BET founder. He talked about Trump's style. I think it's one of the most clever styles ever. He's not just outwitting people. He's so far ahead. Like, cuz they're all focused on impeachment right now. And Trump is double fisting so many things. And that's why they hate this man. They hate this man because he's going to be the one to either turn the tide on this whole new world order or whatever you want to coin it as. He's going to turn the tide on that. I hope he can. Because otherwise, you know, it's lights out America. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to offer a negative Nelly for any emotional support. No, that's not what I'm doing. What I am doing is being realistic about it because we've conceded so much. The Patriots and the Americans as a whole, we've conceded a lot under these administrations. We've conceded a lot under the people that we've hired to be in our government. And that's why I say absolutely right, silly as I want to be. You know, one of the things that he did, excuse me, was during the Thanksgiving holiday. Here they are ready to put out their little backbiting message. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He's playing golf. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, who played golf like that? I'm like, yeah, you're projecting that. You know, that was the last administration. You know, that was President Obama that was spending his time playing golf, and not him. He went to Afghanistan, and it's just like you're dealing with a bunch of pubescent children, you know, and I hear people talking about unpresidential, and yeah, like, but do you realize that's an opinion? What facts do you have any facts? Do you have any ideas? Do you have any history? What is your argument based on? What are you offering? If you're not offering that, then I just don't want to talk about people's feelings anymore. I don't. I have to caution myself when I'm even dealing with my family members at times. You know, and they're silent. As soon as if I say anything about the holy O, they're just silent. Okay, well, it's not about me shutting you down. It's like you gotta have some facts to balance out this stuff. You gotta have it. And even on this platform, I'm not offering to shut anybody down, but we gotta have some balance. And we gotta have some facts. It can't be emotions change, history doesn't change, and that's what people want to get away from. You got people that the modernity, you know, and the enlightened and all these people have destroyed, civilizations have been destroyed based on the ideologies that are happening. The Marxism in this country right now, failed liberation theories from the black church. I think President Trump has turned that hatch, the Johnson Act. He flipped that so that if the minister wants to address something like, if he wants to address something like abortion, he can. But in the past, I think they've here again, holding hostage, using taxes to punish people for political or for their beliefs. And this is typical left politics. I see I'm reading your comment here. U.S. Supreme Court says any law or ordinance imposes on citizens' rights is yes. Yes, when is anybody going to tell these governors what they're doing is illegal? I mean, are we going to have federal intervention? Are we going to have to tell them that you can't just say, okay, here, I'm coming to get your guns tomorrow, and so will be there to pick them up, and if you don't, we're going to throw you in jail. I mean, like I said, I don't want to gaslight anyone, but I'm saying we got to realize what we're dealing with here. And we even had Hitler, he issued a series of gun control. You had Mao in 1935. All of this is history. It's not something that somebody dreamed up. It's not historical fiction. These are the facts. They use a lot of they want to use a lot of mass murders and all these things to. Right. And I like, what is it? Mr. Holman, when he gets on the floor, he says, look, you guys work for me. If you want to give me an opportunity to speak, I'm going to speak. But you need to realize that you work for me. You are the employees. But they sit around like, I've seen a lot of grassroots people just trying to get on and do coverage and just trying to get some response out of these Democrats, even during the impeachment. And, well, you can't be on this property, or you can't be on this or that. It's like, well, wait a minute. The taxpayers are paying for the maintenance of these buildings that you are legislating from. I just think there's got to be some serious, going forward, there's got to be some serious grassroots and some serious, some serious measures in order to save us. So I appreciate everybody for stopping in for this episode, and I will hope to bring you more. And I will see you next time. I hope everybody has a great Sunday. And I will see you next time for more Black Spring with Autumn. And please, if you can subscribe, even if you don't like it, dislike it, subscribe, share. That gives me feedback, and we can grow a little bit on this show. And I will see you next time for a segment of Black Spring with Autumn.